Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to HadalTV. Today we are doing one-on-one with the one and only Mahadi Sharif.
Mohammed.
We leave the middle names alone.
Bro, I've got three long names. Three names, shall I say.
How are you? Okay.
I'm alright, how are you? I said.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
So those who are actually familiar with the channel, make sure you like and subscribe and you comment. Mahdi is our local councillor. He's been with us for so many couple of years. MashaAllah, he's been doing a great job. And now we can explain, obviously, what he's been doing in the community, the challenges. So let's dive into it.
Oh, loads of questions. I said, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just a tiny bit of information for those who will be watching this podcast. So I am not actually I'm not the only councillor in Masai.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot has changed.
Yeah. So there are 3 councillors in Masai.
Okay.
For as long as I can remember, there's always been 3 councillors in Masai.
Okay.
So I'm just one of them. I've got 2 other colleagues.
Yeah.
Councillor Erin Mabel,
Yeah.
who has been a councillor for 2 years now. She was elected in 2022. And then recently, Councillor Isha Mumtaz has joined our team.
He's recently elected.
Yes, recently elected a few weeks ago. So she's our newest, councillor in Masai. So there are 3 of us, and we all have, the same roles.
Yeah.
We're all elected every 4 years, and we all work and represent the interests of Masai.
Okay, so there was an election recently.
Yes.
And it was a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
The
obviously, we were aware of the election. We were talking to Ali Olad. Obviously, he didn't win the election. I think it was the Labour candidate that won the election.
Yeah. So there's an election there's an election every year in Manchester.
Okay.
So the way it works is there are 96 councillors in the city of Manchester. You've got 3 councillors in each area. So Masai has 3. The way it works in Manchester is there's an election every year. So for 3 years there's an election every year, and then you've got what they call it. I think it's called a fallow year or something, like a gap year where there's no election. So for example, next year there won't be an election. So every other year, one of the councillors' terms ends. So there has to be
re-campaign.
There has to be an election. So there was an election on the 2nd of May in Manchester, obviously, and in Masai as well, in which Isha Mumtaz
was successful with that.
Was duly elected, yes.
Yeah. So obviously you've been well experienced local councillor right now. So what's it like? I mean, what is the challenges? What exactly do you do as that role?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I've been a councillor since 2016, 8 years now. Believe it or not, I'm apparently considered as a senior councillor.
You are senior councillor.
No, I don't know if 8 years experience in the council gives you that kind of seniority, but I've been a councillor for 8 years, representing the interests of Masai. Our primary job is to support the local residents, is to act, as a bridge between the local residents who elect us and the council. So we help residents with everything that the council is responsible for. There are obviously certain things that the council is not responsible for, in which case local MPs can support residents with. But anything that the council has responsibility for, we support our residents with housing issues, with environmental issues, with community safety issues, with local education. We support local residents who, for example, want to clean their alleyways or clean their streets, or plant plant things, or have basically improve the alleyways, for example. So anything that the council is responsible for is what
is to do with crime as well.
Yeah, so community safety. So obviously crime is dealt with by Greater Manchester Police. We don't work, or GMP don't work for us, so we work with them.
Okay.
So any issues in the community and the community safety issues, we've had quite a lot of issues in the area over the years. We work with GMB to resolve these issues and create a better and a safe environment for all our local residents.
So for the last 8 years, how do you think, what's changed in Masai?
So I feel like the area obviously has, the Mossad is evolving all the time. It has changed from where it was 20, 30 years ago. I feel like there are far more people living in Mossad now than for example, 8 years ago. Probably there are more students, though I don't have the statistics to back that up. I think overall, the area has, it certainly hasn't gone worse. I think it's, gone better.
Did the area expand to like a new areas, or is it still the same size? Because I remember when we campaigned with you.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't know how big Mossad was until I campaigned with you.
Yeah.
Because I used to think certain areas were Rusholme and certain areas were like Old Trafford or Hume, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So did they expand it more, or is it still the same size?
So in 2018, the Boundary Commission has asked the council to review the boundaries of the city of Manchester. I think they do that every, so often, maybe 20 years, 15 years, I'm not entirely sure. So what they do is they try and make it like areas. So when I say areas, wards, so they use the word ward, right? Yeah. So an elected, a ward is basically like Mossad is a ward. Yeah. Rusholme is a ward.
That's how the wording they use it.
Yeah. So these things are for administrative purposes anyway. So the Boundary Commission have asked the council to review the boundaries of Manchester. So the boundaries have changed. So for example, if you live in Mossad, Mossad now starts. So when I say Mossad, I'm talking about, I'm saying this for administrative purposes. If you live in, for example, on on Great Western Street on the edge of Wilmslow Road, you live in Rusholme geographically. Yeah, you'd always consider yourself as somebody who lives in Rusholme. But when I talk about Mossad, is the Mossad as in the ward that the councillors are basically that the councillors represent. So it starts from the quarter mile, half the quarter mile. So this side of quarter mile towards Great Western Street, and then it goes all the way to Withington Road. And then on this side you've got Yarborough Street on one side, off Clement Road, and on the other side you've got Moss Lane East, and anything in between, that's pretty much Mossad. Most people really wouldn't know.
Wouldn't know that, yeah.
You know
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you either live in Mossad or you live in Rusholme.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the council and council services, it's a bit more complicated than that. And to be fair, I mean, residents they don't really
care anyway. It makes no difference. So
the area, to answer your question, the area hasn't actually gone bigger. Actually, in terms of the residents, I think it's actually the public. So it's actually gone smaller to a certain extent. Okay. I thought we had more residents living in Mossad prior to 2018 than the problem now. So it's kind of changed a bit. So we've gained a bit from Rusholme, so the quarter mile and that estate, the quick safe estate, and then we've lost, the bus depot where the housing development, the bus depot used to be.
So is that classified as well arranged?
So that's now classed in well arranged. Okay. The problem was, and this has been controversial when the boundary.
Because it does have a completely different postcode, doesn't it?
So I think the postcode is still M14.
But I thought that area is changed to M15.
No, it's still M14. As far as I know, it's still M14. So the postcode hasn't changed.
It's
just like for administrative purposes.
It's well arranged.
It's gone into well arranged. So the well arranged council represent that area rather than us. So when services are basically put in place for the city, they're considered as part of well arranged. But if you live in that state, you still live in Mossad geographically.
Yeah, you are.
You have every right to be proud resident of Mossad geographically.
So we already discovered obviously that the changes in the area and obviously how the location of the area. So obviously you said that you've been a councillor for Mossad for 8 years now, which is unbelievable. I can't believe that it's been that long. Yeah. Time flies. So what would you say you enjoy about the most of being a councillor? So
part of the reason why really I became a councillor was because I care about the area.
Yeah.
I've lived in Mossad for the last 20 years, with the exception of a few years that I lived in GTM as a student. I've always lived here, in Mossad. I consider Mossad to be my home. This is where I've made, started a family. This is where I've made friends. I went to, the local, youth clubs in the area. So I've always considered myself as somebody who's, part and parcel of what Mossad is all about. And before I developed keen interest in local politics, I've always wanted to put something back.
Get involved in the community.
To the community, contribute something, positive to the community. And as a person, I've always been politically conscious. And not politically active prior to 2014, but I've always been politically conscious. I've always read the news. I've always tried to educate myself about things that are going on in not just in the area, but in the country, in the city. So my breakthrough came around 2014 when I thought, if I want to see the change that in the area, then I need to be part of that change, and that's what sort of drove me to stand as a as a candidate in the local election in 2016. So the last 8 years have been great, really. There have been some great things, but there've also been some challenges, as you would know. I enjoy helping our communities, helping our residents, making a difference in people's lives. Trying lobbying more funding for the area, finding more funding for the area, working with GMP to make the area safer. Working with our council offices to make the area cleaner and better for all of residents to enjoy. But I think for me, also one thing that people don't actually see is the help and support that we as councillors, or I as a councillor, give to individual people.
Public community.
It's kind of hard to sort of quantify that, or to measure that. But actually, part of most, I would argue, a lot of our job revolves around helping and providing that support to people individually.
Because I remember, last time we sat down, it was during the lockdown.
Yeah.
It seemed like a long time ago now.
Oh, 4 years ago.
Yeah. So obviously at that point, we learned a lot at that point. There was a lot of help and community programs were going at the time that you shared with us at the time, where they were giving free food away, people that were struggling. There was a lot going on in the community, but nobody knew anything about it. And I think that was very great information that you shared with us that day.
Yeah.
And I think they're the sort of things that obviously always go on in the community, but no one is aware what goes on in the community. Unless obviously they specifically need certain things. It's like nobody knows what's going on. And that's the reason why I wanted to do this meeting again where, do you know what I mean? We can actually look around and see what's going on in the community, because obviously you're more clued into the area, what's going on.
Yeah. So a couple of things I want to sort of, go over. So you're absolutely right. Quite a lot of our residents don't actually know, what's going on in the area. To be fair, we try our best to communicate what we are doing to our local residents. Every month, once a month, we go out into a particular area in Mahadi, try to speak to as many residents as possible. We don't always get a response, on the doorstep, which is obviously fine. In an ideal world, you would want to
speak to everyone.
You speak to everybody and get a response from every door that you knock. But that doesn't always happen. So we try and communicate what we do, on social media, on leaflets. Would people contact us either by email or by phone? We respond to them, obviously. We share, if whatever sort of information that they need that we have access to with them. But you're absolutely right. So I'll give you an example. So in Mahadi, we are blessed to have a vibrant youth profession. We've got the Powerhouse, you've got the Hideaway, Trinity House, and quite a lot of people that I speak to sometimes don't know that there is youth profession that the children and the young people can access. I think these organisations also are trying their best and in their own ways to try and engage as many parents as possible. But it has been a challenge. To be fair, when for example, something or a project is going on, we try and letter drop, or the council tries to contact residents by letter. So, for example, recently we've had a residence parking scheme implemented in the area.
Oh yes, I've seen that.
I know quite a lot of people don't necessarily think it's a good idea.
I think the areas are affected, isn't it? Because they're closer to Windsor Road, so
absolutely. So
it would frustrate me as well. So
so if you live in that part of Mahadi, it's
understandable.
And there's no space, parking space for to
park overnight.
Then it's so the idea that the reason why we for example we've implemented that residence parking scheme is to tackle commuter parking. So Mahadi, because Mahadi is close proximity to the city centre, what you've had over the years was people who drive into my side, park their cars around Winslow Road, Hill Place, around that area, and then walk either to the universities or the hospital, or even take the bus to town.
Yeah.
So we wanted to tackle that, and we've this scheme has been in the pipeline for years.
It makes sense.
There's been some delays, but we now have a fully implemented and operational residents parking scheme, and the residents are seeing the benefits of that. If you walk around the area now, there are parking spaces.
It's a residents only
available. So when, for example, that scheme was going to be was approved to be implemented, we have written to the residents as part of the consultation and said, look, this is what we're going to do in the area. This is what you've asked for. What do you think of it? And there was a 3-week consultation. So things do happen rarely. But also, I always urge people to try and contact the local councillors. If they want to find out more information about certain things. But I accept the challenge that sometimes people don't know much about what's going on.
You mentioned the Hideaway, the Powerhouse. These organizations used to be, we used to use them when we were a bit younger, obviously, when it comes to sports, or we were involved in that. Are they still the same? Is it still run by the council, or is this just, what is it today? Who's running it?
So actually, the council actually, even when we went there as young people, the council didn't actually run. So, for example, I think the Hideaway.
Hideaway, yeah.
It's a charity, so the council doesn't actually run it.
It just was it like a non-funding?
It just supports it, I think. I don't know if they've had funding from the council recently. I don't know, but I'm not really privy to that now. But it's a charity, so it's run by people who obviously work for that charity. Powerhouse is a bit more, I think, complicated. Obviously, there's vibrant youth provision in the centre, but again, it's run by a board of trustees. So the point is really is that this is accessible. This is accessible to our young people, and it's accessible to our young people. I know, obviously, this. I've had conversations with some of the parents who say, their children don't go to these kind of But I would encourage people to take advantage of what's available for the young people in the area. I think, like I said, Mossad is blessed to have these vibrant youth opportunities. I know we've had challenges with young people over the years, but this is an ongoing.
Yeah, it's great because we've used it. We used it when we were, we needed them. I'm sure you're aware of Ahmed Yassin.
Yes.
And the great job he's doing in the community.
Friend. Yes.
And obviously, we've been talking recently because obviously we are in the semi-final when it comes to the football tournament. So we'll be playing a London team. It's coming up soon. So the boys actually gone through being Sheffield 2 weeks ago. Great occasion. I know people who haven't seen it, please catch up with HadalTV. It's there. Obviously, you must be proud. Obviously, they're representing Manchester and the area very well. Our local home ground is the academy as well. So
they're actually called the Manchester Power.
Manchester Powerhouse. Yes. Yeah.
I was actually with Ahmed Yassin a few hours ago talking about all things football.
Yeah.
So shout out to Ahmed Yassin. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
I think he's doing an incredible job, an amazing job.
They're the sort of people that obviously they're doing a lot in the community, which no one really realizes. Because obviously he doesn't run just the boys, the teams, but he's got the youngers, they've got the girls team. He's doing a great job there, and he's just pretty much unknown in the area. We're trying to get him to be seen.
Yeah. So to be fair, I've worked with Ahmed, closely with Ahmed over the years, and we have actually supported Ahmed and his group. In the past, we're still supporting him. I was actually with him a few hours ago talking about all things football and what his plans are. In the future. And I think a few years ago, one of the issues that we've had really was that the mainstream organisations were the ones that we've been heard, in sort of, at the council when it comes to youth funding. So I remember 5 years ago, as part of our what we call board coordination meetings, our theme was young people.
Yeah. We
invited Ahmed and his team to that to that meeting, and we worked with Ahmed and his team closely, ever since, and we have supported him, and we will continue to
So
disappointed
I'm
because
sure
Ahmed's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
You know, supporting and helping our young people, and you know, as councillors, what we want is also to value, you know, grassroots organisations like Ahmed's organisation, because they are the ones usually who are the forefront of you know, working with
young people. Yeah. Obviously, I'm sure I'm not sure. The question I was going to ask you was, I'm not sure if you're aware, but like, they've been invited to a tournament in Canada now.
Correct.
Yes. So, what can be done for them? Like, obviously, as a community, like, obviously, they are looking for funding because obviously they're trying to take over the nearly 15, 16 kids to Canada.
Was this pre-planned that I had a meeting with Ahmed and then you invite me to this podcast?
No.
A few hours later?
I'll tell you the reason why. I'm actually going to be going.
Oh.
Yes.
Can I come?
Of course you can come.
Okay, no problem.
As long as you're taking part, then...
But I'm not going to play football.
I'm not talking about the funding.
I'm retired from football.
I'm talking about the funding side of things.
Right, okay, so...
But like, the reason why I'm asking the question is, obviously, all these young people, obviously, like, we've been there. We've been to Spain with the football. Like, there was always been an organisation where they were supported. So... The reason why I'm asking is obviously all these young people going, because I'm trying to make a documentary of it going with them. I'm not going there just I'm going to document the whole event and everything that goes on, hopefully there if it become possible. But obviously they are looking for some support.
Financial support.
So like, is there any ideas you have or anything that we can do?
So
obviously, and that goes for the community as well. You know, the business owners. It could be the average person in the area. Obviously, it would be great for everyone to chip in and help out.
So I'm not going to share So me and Ahmed have spoken about this today, a few hours ago.
I wasn't aware.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
We've spoken about this, and you know, he's got some, you know, good ideas, and I've given him what I think in terms of how you know, this trip you know, to Canada can be, you know, can be achieved. So I'm not going to tell you what I've discussed with him.
Yeah, that's fine.
Here on air, but I have given him my advice, and I will be working with him closely over the next you know, few weeks.
Yeah.
To try and make this you know, trip to Canada, which I think is important and timely. You know, to make it happen. Unfortunately, as a city, you know, things have not been easy over the last, you know, 14 years since, you know, the Conservatives have basically
they ripped everything out.
Public services, really, yeah. So, you know, the sort of funding that used to be available for these kind of
organisations,
you know, things. You know, when we were, you know, growing up, I remember I've been to, you know, many different trips. You know, things were a lot easier really than now. So things are not really that easy anymore. But obviously, we can always, you know, utilise. You know, our communities. We can utilise our local businesses. So I'll be working with Ahmed in the next few weeks to try and see how we can support him further. And we've got some good ideas.
Oh, that's great to hear. I mean, I'm sure like you'll do everything you can.
Try my best.
Yeah. So the next question I had for you was obviously. Would you be attending the next game? Like, obviously, there will be the semi-final. The first leg is going to be in Manchester.
Is that the game in London?
No, the first one is in Manchester.
Most definitely I'll be there.
Yeah, and the second one will be the academy, and the second one we're going to have to travel to London.
Yeah,
me and Spider, we've been recording all the matches, so it'd be great to see you there. Like, so for the next one.
The Manchester one, I think I can definitely make it.
Yeah.
The London one, that'll depend on obviously like what I'll be doing and when that will be. I've just been, you know, a disillusioned football fan lately due to United's
let's not talk about
performances. So actually, I've not really watched too much football. I only watched, you know, the Champions League.
I can see
if it's a big game, but definitely I'll most certainly make time to watch.
And anyone that was be interested to support the boys, make sure you come through to the Manchester one as well. So it is a big deal.
Ahmed was showing me some videos of your recent games, and you know, they were well attended. You know, it's very good.
Yeah, the community do come out and it's exactly the same everywhere we go. We've been playing Birmingham, we played Sheffield, we played London teams. Everywhere we go.
I also watched like clips from some Premier League footballers Jack Grealish. And
yeah, that was last season.
Was that last season?
But obviously, the Manchester became the champions.
Right. Okay.
So obviously, we are on the way there to do it again for the second time.
Okay. And will you be having famous Premier League football stars?
Oh yeah, because last time when you got to the final, they got Jack Grealish, all these players. You had
I don't understand.
Alexander
Who was backing
Arnold.
who?
So basically, there was a London team and a Manchester team, and the London team started this whole movement of getting a lot of celebrities, chunks, a few footballers from London, basically supporting them. And obviously, a few of the lads got in contact with Jack Grealish and then Alexander
So was Jack
Arnold.
backing you guys?
Yeah.
And Trent?
Trent was supporting the London team.
Was supporting the London?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So
Scousers, innit?
Yeah, he was looking to support the Manchester. That's obvious.
So obviously, the mayor of London, Andy, been elected.
Yeah.
So obviously, I thought, you know what? I'm going to say this right now. I want him to become the prime minister of this country.
Who's that? Sadiq Khan?
No,
Who?
I'm talking about Manchester mayor.
Oh, Andy Burnham.
Yeah,
Andy Burnham. Yeah. He's a great guy. I support him.
yeah. I actually want him to be the prime minister of this country.
Okay, but that's probably not going to happen now.
It's not gonna
We have a leader.
I will support him. I will support him.
Yeah. I think most definitely.
He's
I wouldn't say most definitely, but it's obviously Keir Starmer.
He's my favourite Labour man at the moment in time. Obviously, in Manchester's changed a lot since he's been a mayor.
Yeah.
What do you think is accomplishment so far?
No, look, I support Andy Burnham. I think he's done some great things for Greater Manchester. He's been I think an inspiration, an important voice for Greater Manchester. Lobbying more funding, more powers from the central government, and he's somebody who's who has, as far as I know, great relationship with the Greater Manchester's diverse communities. And I think his recent wins, his recent electoral success,
overwhelming, wasn't it?
Over 64. Did you get 64%?
Yeah, it's just the numbers were even close.
Yeah, and the election before that, I think it was like 67%. So that shows
very popular.
Yeah, he's very popular. I probably
because I think it's down to his good work. He seems he do care about the city.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, he's brought back the Manchester transport system.
Yeah, to the public.
The free school bus, for youngsters. So he's that's what you need, All politics is local. You want somebody who's gonna fight your corner. Advocate for the issues that local people.
Even like if you look at the central of Manchester now, it looks like Dubai at the moment.
Yeah, so it gets more interesting that. I mean, depending on where you stand on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people I've seen have a different way of looking at it. Yeah.
And, some people support it, some people don't support it. So
it does bring funds to the city.
Certainly, yes, it does. I think I'm not an economist, but it probably stimulates the economy.
Yeah,
there are obviously Manchester has got some very good universities that are very attractive to foreign students. We've got I think like 100,000, if not more.
Yeah.
Students living in the city of Manchester. Yeah. I don't think that includes Salford. So
it's a lot.
So obviously the city does benefit from having obviously students. Students are bring obviously economic development to the city. But obviously I think it's all about getting that balance right, making sure obviously that our local residents are supported while also not obviously negatively impacting the city's economic
talking about national now, so obviously that this is going to be an obvious now. The Labour government is going to take over the country.
It's looking that way. Look, I mean, all the polls show that Labour has a huge lead over the Conservatives, and quite rightly so. The Conservatives have been a disaster. I mean, they are a joke.
I mean, I actually think honest to God, I've never been a Conservative person anyway.
Yeah.
And obviously, I am a bit disheartened with the Labour government at the moment in time, the Labour opposition. Opposition at the moment in time. Obviously, the way that things have been conducted with a lot of things, especially the foreign policy at the moment in time. And in other hand, also, I don't know if it would make any difference. Even if they say the right thing, it would make any changes whatsoever anyway. Because anyone can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean things are going to change. It's down to one person to say something and everything's going to change. If anything can change, or it's down to someone saying something, I don't think that would be the case anyway. But the way there's been conducted at the moment in time, I was a massive Jeremy Corbyn fan.
Okay.
And when Jeremy Corbyn went out of the way, obviously, I've kind of been disheartened with the whole Labour. Anyway, that's where I am.
I think without.
And I've not seen anyone that trying to win me back with something yet.
Am I not doing a good job?
Listen, I do support you, and I do support our mayor in our city.
Okay, good.
So
you know what? All politics is local, right? So long
100%.
as you support your local councillors and the Greater Manchester Mayor, then I think that's
so locally
that's
definitely
good enough for me.
Local, obviously,
but also I think we've got some good local MPs in the city of Manchester, especially Lucy and Afsal. So for your information, how do I say this? So remember we were talking about how the boundaries of the city of Manchester was changed in 2018.
Yeah.
Now the whole of the UK, there has been a boundary review. Yeah. So the constituencies have also changed in the city of Manchester.
Okay.
So, In Moss Side, we used to be part of Manchester Central constituency.
Okay.
That's what it used to be called, Manchester Central constituency. So Lucy Powell was the local MP.
Okay.
Due to the boundary changes now, from the next election onwards, Moss Side will be part of a new constituency called Manchester Rushow.
Okay.
Right? So the name's Manchester Gorton. Yeah. It used to be Manchester Gorton. So I don't know if Manchester Gorton is moved toward the other side. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to be part of Manchester Rushow. And if he gets elected, our local MP will be Afsal Khan, who's currently the MP for Manchester Gorton.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Lucy will move towards the city centre, towards that side. Yeah. And Afsal will basically take over the whole of Moss Side, alongside Hume, I think Ardwick, all of these kind of areas. So that will change as well.
Do you think with the Labour government in charge of the country, would that be better for a local, like obviously like the people like myself who care about local politics, like for example, obviously yourself and then our mayor and stuff like that. Do you think we benefit from that?
They benefit from
Labour government? Yeah,
look, I think so. Look, we were a few minutes ago we were talking about youth services and the challenges around access to youth provision there. Part of the reason why, for example, the youth service of the Manchester Council was basically decimated was because there was lack of funding. Even though that over the last obviously few years we actually have done quite some good work with the limited resources that we have. The council was made to cut, I think, just under £500 million over the last 18 years. The councils, for example, staff was reduced by over 45%, 40%. Some of our services were cut. And ultimately those were decisions that we were forced to make by the central government when they came in, to power with the Conservatives came to power with the Lib Dems. From 2010 onwards. So yes, I think Labour will be a much better government because look, nobody will be worse than the Conservatives. The Conservatives
I don't think
awful.
So. Yeah.
They've been a joke. How many prime ministers have we had since 2016?
I couldn't count.
It's that's not how.
I couldn't count. Even the guys there now, nobody voted for him.
You don't have to know anything about politics or
it's been a disaster.
To look at it and say
I do not know how they're still in charge of this country.
And then since Boris Johnson, we've had 2 prime ministers, right? Yeah. None of them have been elected. None of them have gone to people and asked them for their vote.
Disgraced Boris Johnson.
You have Boris Johnson. They got rid of him. Then you had Liz Truss, who crashed the economy with that.
I don't know how they vote. I don't know how she even got that job.
It's and then this guy came because he was rejected the first time by the Conservatives.
Yeah, they didn't want him.
But because Liz Truss was so bad, it only lasted for 4 weeks. They basically
returned him.
Turned to him basically. So
just to stabilise.
He's everything. A lame dog. He just literally nothing that he can do.
He's a disaster.
He's focusing on the Rwanda, immigration, in trying to
and even that is not working very well, is it?
Well, it's a cultural war, isn't it? It's what he thinks.
I think they started quite divisive politics, isn't it? It's about just blaming and doing this and immigrants, and it's like they just don't have real policies to deal with issues that's happening. It just all it is just talking.
Look, for example, the Rwanda policy that they're talking about now. The central the central focus now is on Rwanda, immigration, boats. But actually, the Rwandan policy is just basically something, for me, it's something to just show to people and say, look,
we're doing something.
We're getting these, we're getting rid of these people from the country. But
And
it doesn't actually resolve the issue, which is obviously the crossings and processing, immigrants as fast as possible. There are people who I've met who have been waiting for a decision for years, sometimes 2 years.
And obviously, I think some of the reports I've seen where even Rwanda can take a certain amount of people a year.
Right, I'm against the Rwanda policy.
Yeah, but no, I'm just saying, even if this policy works, it's like they could take a certain amount of people a year.
I don't think it works.
And that's not even like the ratio of numbers of people are coming in and the people that they're trying to send to Rwanda it's a tiny drop of the ocean.
It's not going to work.
So even if that works, it still doesn't resolve anything.
I think what they want to do is they want to use this as the election campaign and say,
it's a talking piece.
Yeah, because everybody's always talked about reducing net migration. And actually, for me, a lot of people within the Conservative Party or who are on the right of the British political spectrum is actually, they're not talking about illegal immigration. They're not just against illegal immigration. They're against immigration in all its forms.
Yeah, because obviously the reason that we come out Brexit, it was to do. Yeah. They said they were going to control immigration when they were coming out of Brexit, but the people that were coming from Europe, they didn't want them either. So because obviously, why would leave Europe for immigration reasons? It's not like people that was coming into this country for immigration reasons was coming from Europe, but they were already here, or they had the right to come here if they wanted to.
I know this is it
is a complicated kind of conversation.
And it's an emotive subject, But
yeah, because there's a lot of agendas.
Yeah, because it's kind of difficult to, try and put things in a soundbite, But it's a lot more. These issues are a lot more complicated than just saying, "Oh, let's have Rwanda and get." You know what I mean? It doesn't really.
I don't know.
It's not going to work. It will never work.
I don't know if you remember, but I think there was Boris Johnson had this, and Nigel Farage had a massive poster of all Brexit. The Syrians. Coming in, like in a massive line coming into the UK. But then they were saying, let's get out of Europe. What's that? Because Syrians and Europe got to do with each other? Because
what they wanted to do was to scare people off and say, look, if you stay in the EU, then all of these people, that picture of, Turks, I thought it was, a racist picture anyway.
It was.
All these people were flood.
That's what they were saying at the time.
Obviously, it was never going to happen. But I, in general, anyway, I thought the Leave campaign in 2016, and I was involved in that. Obviously, the Labour campaign to stay in the EU. I thought I thought Leave had more sort of, I thought they had better slogans. Do you know what I mean?
They were very aggressive.
Vote Leave.
Yeah.
They take back control. Do you know what I mean?
£350 million for the National Health Service.
And I think in general, anyway, not just in politics, but it's easier to like.
They got the public side. Very, very quickly.
Talk about negative things. If if you dislike something so much, it's very easy to just give people mention a list of things that you don't like about something. But actually, on the other side, I thought the argument was more. How shall I say? I thought they didn't speak the language in which normal people understand. Because what you need to do is you have to break the things down. Because people are not going to read statistics or look at GDP and you know what I mean. It's not. It doesn't work like that. We're going to have the time to do that.
No, and obviously people are finding out now.
You have to explain things in a soundbite. I thought
we are seeing the result now.
Did better than that anyway. But anyway.
The cost of living. We've seen the result
anyway,
of
let's not talk about Brexit.
Okay, obviously, let's finish with obviously what's the future for you now?
Well, for myself?
Yeah, obviously you've been a councillor for 8 years. It's just, obviously, I can see you're enjoying your position and you're enjoying your work and working with the community. So, is it like...
Yeah, so I've been a councillor for 8 years now. I think I've been elected 4 times.
Yeah.
I... be honest and say that I probably haven't achieved what I set out to achieve. I don't think that's abnormal. I think that's very true in sort of in politics. When I became a councillor, I thought I would have all the powers in the world and to try and make drastic changes or make quick decisions about things and implement things. But it doesn't actually work like that. It's not. it's not actually that simple, you know. But having said that, I think, you know, to be able to represent, you know, your area, your family, your friends, it has been one of the, you know, greatest, you know, honors of my life, you know. I'd like to think that I've helped, you know, a lot of people individually. I'd like to think that I've, you know, contributed positively to the development of the area and making Masahid a better place to live. Obviously, there are still challenges. There've always been challenges. We've had some, you know, tragic incidents in those in the 8 years as well. But you know, this job is just an ongoing. I call this job an ongoing piece of work. I don't think this, you know,
never anything.
Yeah, you could never say that you've done enough. You know.
Yeah.
But I think the point is to try your best and do.
That's all you can do.
And do whatever you can, and that's all you can do. You know, you're absolutely right. You know, we've now got, as I mentioned, a residence parking scheme, which I think some of our local residents will benefit from. We've still got issues with you know, fly tipping, especially in parts of Masahid, where people just are dumping things in the alleyways, and that's an ongoing piece of work, you know. And you know, people speak to me about that. That's the main concern for our local residents, but. You know, I think it will take time before I think we try and get a grip over this, and that a lot will depend on you know, how much residents actually take the lead on certain things and organise themselves and you know, take pride in their local area. Because there's only so much that a council or the council can do, and when it comes to certain things, you know. But you know, there's a housing crisis in the city. Housing is probably 80% of the casework that we deal with, and you know, in most cases, really, there isn't really much that you can do about it.
Yeah,
somebody who's on the housing, you know,
housing
waiting list who wants a house, but they just can't find a house. They can't get a house because the houses are not available. And you know, if that person comes to you and says, I've got this housing issue, help me, and they don't get the result that they wanted or that they were looking for, you haven't really done anything for that person. To them, you tried your best, but you haven't resolved their issue, and so there is a massive housing.
There's housing crisis all over the UK.
In the city, especially in Masahid as well. Yeah, you know, it's difficult to find even a private rented house to rent. You know. So the future, you know, only God knows what the future holds, you know. I've still got 3 more years left. My term finishes in 2027. Okay. And I'm going to try and, you know, continue to represent the interests of Masahid.
That's great to hear.
You know, hopefully in the next 3 years.
Thank you very much. Thank you much for Mahadi. Any questions you have for Mahadi, or any help, or anything that he can do for you, if you've got any questions, then you can get in contact with him. You can leave comments in there. Please just subscribe. We are almost 1,000 subscribers at the moment in time. Please push us over the line. Thanks for watching. Good night.